Welcome to r/malicious compliance, where we share stories of people conforming to the letter, but not the spirit of request. Thank you, friends, for subscribing to the channel, and for so many likes. The first story. Assistant manager tells me I shouldn't work the service desk if I'm scheduled to cashier. The second story. My boss made a dumb mistake and wanted me to make something happen that was impossible. The third story. Old witch scared my child and now enjoys the noise she didn't want to hear. The first story is, just work where you're scheduled to work. That's it. Say less, boss. Hi, y'all. I currently work at a big box store that you'll probably be able to figure out fairly quickly by the end of this. There are only two main characters, myself and an assistant manager, AM. Anyways, yesterday I was scheduled to work as a cashier. However, my main thing is customer service. So on days that I'm scheduled to cashier, every once in a while, I'm most likely at the service desk anyways, because there's never a closer for service desk. This has never been a problem, and to be honest, some days I don't think managers ever even notice I was supposed to be on a register. So it was an extremely busy day. We had way too many people in the store and not enough cashiers. An assistant manager decided she'd take it upon herself to get the lines down, paging every cashier to the front, including some on lunch. Eventually I get paged to the front. It's 6 p.m. and all the other service desk associates went home. I have a line and I'm getting it down. So I ignore the page with plans to let them know where I'm at after I get through the customers. Not 2 minutes go by when she goes through her list again. I start rushing, and once I finished, I went to tell her I was at the service desk. Here's how that went down. Me: hey, I heard you paging me to the front, but I'm already here. I'm at the service desk. There's no one over there. AM: I paged you 10 minutes ago. I need people on the registers. You're not supposed to be at the service desk right now. It's supposed to be. Me: both closers called off. There's no one there, that's why I went over there. AM: no one sent you there? Me: well, no, but... AM: then you don't go there. You don't supervise yourself. We know what's going on. If we need you there, we'll put you there. Open register 6 and from now on, work where you're scheduled to work at and nothing else. Understood? Me: understood, I guess. Anyways, she did let me stay at the service desk, but not without continuing to be about how I shouldn't go where I want and all that. It peeved me off, so I said, F it, I'll just do that from now on. Well, guess what? Today I also had a cashier day, and the first thing I did after clocking in today was ask which register I should open. Pretty smooth. It's 1 p.m. and the service desk has its associates. 5 p.m. rolls around, and this is where I know it's going to get interesting, because once again the two closers called off. This happens too often. Right now there's no attendance penalties due to recent events. I watched the last service desk associate for the day leave, and I continued ringing people out. I was giddy with anticipation. The AM was supervising the front end again, and this time I did as she told me. I stayed at a register. Well, it finally happened. The first customer. She rolls up to the service desk and looks around and waits. Then someone else rolls up behind her too. Now I'm watching, waiting for the AM to notice, when the first lady decided to walk back and ask the nearest cashier, presumably, if there'd be someone to help her. I don't know what the cashier told her, but she walked back and waited again. There are now 4 customers in line for an unmanned desk. When the 5th person lined up is when she finally noticed, and by then people were already antsy. I saw her scrambling behind the desk, and looked around and I didn't dare make eye contact. Haha, I kept ringing people up. Well, she had to help the customers, and not only that, but her pride was so much she didn't actually want to ask me for help. She closed the service desk today, and by the end she was angry as all hell, and said she never wanted to cover customer service again. She closed it an hour early. Weak. Edit. To clarify, she was not paging cashiers to cut their lunches short or work off the clock. She just didn't know who was on lunch and who wasn't because she had just come up to the front. I had a similar situation, but it was different. I used to work in a supermarket and something similar happened to me. The difference was that I never liked customer service. It was miserable. The lines were long, cases could be complicated, and customers were often angry. You wouldn't believe how many Karens I met working in that position. As soon as I was removed from that position, they put me to work on the casa. I had no choice, so I took it. The manager who fired me quickly regretted it, as the normal lines with people who needed help grew again. But my line at the cash register was endless too. I couldn't help and frankly didn't want to. My job was to serve the people in the checkout line. Eventually he had to manage and help the customers himself, but he really didn't know what to do. His t-shirt was covered in sweat, even though it wasn't a warm day. Later he came up to me and asked for help. My touch was blank, but I reminded him that he had fired me for my customer service position and told me to serve people at the register. Karma's a bee. The second story is, just find room for 10 extra pallets of soda. I used to work for a national soda company. My job is to swing by stores several times a day and restock the shelves from supplies in the back rooms. 4th of July is by far the busiest day of the year, as most stores have big sales. At the time I worked, a common sale was 5 12-packs for $10. Anywho, the problem each year is that there just isn't enough space in stores' back rooms to have enough product to last the entire day. So what should happen is that drivers do extra deliveries to keep product on the shelves. Well, my boss has decided he doesn't want to pay overtime on a holiday, so this year he has a plan. We will order more product than we have space for, and put our product in areas reserved for other vendors in the store itself. So July 3rd, the load shows up. Right away, it's apparent that there's just way too much stuff, even if I use space I'm not supposed to. And the backroom manager is peeved at me because my pallets are in the way of everyone else trying to get their stuff in and out. I call my boss and let him know this is never gonna work, and they need to come do buybacks on some of the pallets. He tells me to make it work and hangs up. Cue malicious compliance. I grab a pallet jack and walk the entire pallet out onto the floor of the store. This store has narrow aisles. I go to the soda aisle and drop the pallet. It completely takes up the aisle. Customers can't walk in or out. Repeat about a dozen times. Then I leave for the day. I get a call from my boss. He isn't happy with me. He wants me to go back to the store and somehow find space that doesn't exist. I tell him I've already had a few drinks and won't be driving anywhere. He tells me I'm fired and hangs up. Whatever, I've got other job offers. And now I can go hang out at my buddy's barbecue and watch fireworks. I get a call at 6 a.m. from my boss. He's swearing at me because we start at 4 a.m. on the 4th. I tell him he told me I was fired, so I'm at home sleeping in. He tells me he was just joking and I need to get to work now. I tell him that I've already taken an offer working for a competing company. Not true, but he doesn't know. And they're paying me $5 more per hour than he is, and 5 extra days PTO. If he wants me, then I want $6 more per hour, and an extra 6 days of PTO. He swears at me and hangs up. Whatever, back to bed I go. 5 minutes later, my boss calls again. He tells me he will do that, but I have to leave now. That's a pretty good way to get a $12,000 raise. Well done. Haha, it's his own fault. He fired you first and then realized you were a valuable employee and he needed you. I hope you warned him to have a written document waiting for you by the time you arrive for a pay raise and time off, because his verbal promise is worth the shake of the air on which it is written. He may deceive you, so be careful. Always demand proof in writing. My boss told me he would promote me in a month. I worked hard and hoped for a promotion. Even though I was offered another job with a higher salary, I refused. I relied on my boss's words. In the end, a month went by and I still didn't get my promotion. I asked my boss about it and he said that he did not talk about a promotion. I was shocked. I immediately packed my things and left. A week later, I found my dream job. The last story is, downstairs neighbor complained that we're too loud. I currently live in a 3-story apartment building with my wife, pregnant with our second child, and my almost 2-year-old daughter. Our downstairs neighbor is an old woman who lives alone, with a small yippy dog, and shall be henceforth abbreviated as OH for Old Hag. Backstory is that on multiple occasions the old hag will knock on her ceiling, my floor, when she thinks we're stomping too much, in the middle of the day. By the way, she often lets her yippy dog outside, who barks incessantly past 11 p.m. The apartment definitely has thin floors because we hear our upstairs neighbors throughout the day and late into the night, but they're another story altogether. A few weeks ago, my wife's parents were visiting us, and while standing outside on the balcony with my mother-in-law and daughter, OH walks outside her terrace with the yippy dog. Conversation went something like this. OH, oh hi, are you my upstairs neighbor? Me, yep, we live here, just me, my wife, and our daughter. I said as I motioned to my daughter for her to see the cutie. OH, oh, I thought it was an African-American man who lived there. Me, I'm very white. No ma'am, not to my knowledge. We've been here for a little over a year now. OH, I see. Me, well, it was nice meeting you. Gotta go help inside. And took the opportunity to leave. She speaks to my MIL for another minute as I go back inside to help my wife with some lunch preparations. Not 2 minutes later, my phone rings. It's the apartment complex's front office management saying our downstairs neighbor is reporting a noise complaint and we're too loud. In my mind, excuse me, the effing bee said what? She could have said it to my face and asked like a decent person, but that was just low. My wife and I are peeved, so we go to the front office to let them know that it's absurd of her to complain at 2 in the afternoon about footsteps. We weren't playing music or anything, just hanging out around the house with the in-laws and kiddo. Property management confirms that she's in the wrong, and county regulations state that normal times are from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m., and as long as we're not being excessively loud, like throwing a party, she can't complain. Fast forward to yesterday. I get home late, around 9 p.m. with my daughter. Wife doesn't get home till 9:30. We both often work late shifts at our jobs. My mom watches my daughter during the day, so I keep her awake to see mommy for a bit before bed. Wife gets home and we hang out in the living room for a bit, and my daughter wants me to chase her, so I do. She loves playing Gonna Get You. It's about 9:40 p.m. and quiet hours only start after 11. Within a minute, there's a pounding knock on our floor, for a full minute without stopping. This absolutely terrified my daughter, who isn't quite 2 yet but is very verbose, since she didn't understand what was happening. She starts crying and wailing, saying, "All done, knocking, all done, knocking," crying and repeating this mantra even through bedtime songs. It took her almost an hour to calm down from this and finally fall asleep, with the last thing she mutters being "all done knocking" one last time as she falls asleep. This old bee is traumatizing my kid who's learning to walk and run, and I'm not having it. We go to bed and I go to the property management office first thing in the morning, let them know what she did to my child the night before, and showed them a recording of her reaction to it, saying "all done knocking" as I was trying to sing her to sleep, and another video of her wailing her eyes out, clearly terrified, as my wife held her before going to bed. Management agreed that old hag is wrong here and is going to kindly let her know that she's not allowed to knock on my floor during non-quiet hours. If she does, I have the right to call the police on her for harassment. I'm even considering filing a restraining order if she does it again. Well, the MC is now about to start. From 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. whenever my wife and I are home, we're no longer going to watch our step, as we have been in the past. We know how awful it is since we constantly hear our upstairs neighbors stomp around, so we tried to be extra careful up until now. Not anymore. She made my daughter cry, and in turn really stressed out my pregnant wife, giving her anxiety. She's gonna pay for it. From 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. the elephant parade is officially in town. After that, quiet time it is. Edit. No knocks from her yet, which I'm fine with. We still try to be good neighbors despite our outrage, so we keep the day stomping a little subtle. Not doing anything like the guys in the Neighbor Noise is an art form video, as amazing as that is. Just an accidental big stomp or dropping something heavy randomly here and there throughout the day. I feel this maximizes the effect, as it's a very loud thud that should disrupt her otherwise quiet time more so than a continuous noise, ensuring she doesn't get used to any amount of noise. We used to also stop my daughter if she started bunny hopping or running around too much, but not anymore. We're within our allowed noise time, so she has full freedom to run and jump as much as she wants. I especially encourage her to run laps through our open kitchen floor, which is tile for extra noise, while we were home during the day this weekend. That's it for now, though. I think you're doing the right thing, because you have to take care of the child first and foremost, and if some old witch scares your child, you must take revenge. I would do what that guy did and put on some song 24/7 during the noise times. That's also how you can learn to dance at home. Haha, I'm sure your wife would love it, and it would be a great activity to learn together every night. You will teach the old witch a lesson and have a great time. Don't forget to subscribe and have a nice day.